I just called mine in.
Oh, it does work. Oh, okay. I see how it works now. I have to go add that to the store. Add some stuff to my storage here. While I'm in here, take some stuff out of my inventory. See what I got in here that I can take out. Put these in my house. 38. Drop those in there. Drop.
What? Not hard whenever you fucking, every time you goddamn touch your fucking car, it blows up.
God, I'm fucking stupid, bro.
Do what?
I said I'm stupid.
No, it's just a stock one. Stupid fucking bastards, bro, I swear to God. Stupid motherfuckers. Watch, it's gonna break as soon as I sit on it. No, it didn't. Nothing, I just gotta run over there and test something real quick.
I got 3,000 dirty money.
This is the Trackmania track, Peter.
You said what?
This is the Trackmania track. I don't think this is a bike track.
Those are the bike tracks.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you could use it for go-karts or bikes, but nothing else is going to fit on that track. Cars won't fit on that track.
God damn, this loop's hard.
Not
It's not impossible, but it's hard because of the angle that it's at.
Well, say you put 2 cars on there, you're never going to be able to pass anybody, ever. So whoever just gets in first wins the race, pretty much.
My bike kicks me whenever I try to do the loop.
Yeah, see, that's the issue. That's why I said go-karts. You can make it in a go-kart.
It'd have to be the faster go-karts.
No, it's the slow ones. I watched the Nubis do it. When I put this in, it was me, him, and PC testing it out. That's why we decided it was a go-kart track instead of a bike track. We got 4 steaks. 2 waters. On my fridge, I'm gonna put some coffee beans in there. Where are the other cups at? And 2 regular cups. 6 honesty apple juices can go in there. And that's it. What up, big dog? Niceties. I was like, when the fuck? That's not even a table. That's a fucking vent system. Lights. Mario Brooks, the man, the legend. What's up, brother, man? Hope everything's good. Looking better for you. Go sit to eat this food. Figure out what I'm gonna do for the day. Put a new video on.
It's definitely possible on the bike. You just gotta hit it hard enough and not fucking blow up for no reason. Zach, I fucking hear you, but I don't know where you're at.
The only way to do it is to automate it.
Copy. Alright, let's get back in here. Let's throw this on. While we eat.
True, scary campfire stories. But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload 2 or 3 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please offer to sing at the Like Button's wedding for free, and then when it's time for their first dance, sing a rendition of Du Hast by Rammstein in an Australian accent. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's. An 18-year-old girl named Bella wrapped up her first year in college and headed home for the summer. Her family lived just outside of this small town in France that was tucked up in the mountains.
VA, what's up, the man, the
A lot of her
legend?
time out in this forest, either by herself or with her
Video
father or
dropped
other
today, you know, I
members
gotta
of her
watch it
family.
while I
And so
eat
she
my
knew the
steak
forest
and
like
my
the back of her hand.
meals.
Her favorite place to go in this forest was the man-made
After
lake
coffee.
that sat kind of at the center of this forest. It wasn't huge, but it was a beautiful view. It was very peaceful, and so she liked going out there. The way she would get to it is she would leave her house, she would hop in her car, she would drive a couple of miles down the road, and she would pull off into the shoulder of this road, and there was no signage that said this was the pull-off to get to the man-made lake. This was an area that she and her family had discovered, that there was this particular trail.
This isn't
you could
actually
take.
my
And so she
favorite
would pull
YouTube
off
channel.
at the shoulder,
I have
she would
more
get out, and she would
random,
turn away from the road and just walk
I'll tell you
directly
right
into
now,
the
my
trees, which
favorite-
butted right up against
my
the
favorite
road.
YouTube channel.
And very
Or
quickly,
not- I
after
don't
walking
really
into
follow- I
the woods,
literally
after
don't
going through some thick
follow
underbrush,
anybody on
she would
there, so
reach
there's
this kind
probably
of
like
clearing,
3
and she
people.
would see up ahead this little stream. And off to the left side of this stream
Okay,
is
I'll
what
tell
looked
you about
like
my
this kind
basic
of
feed,
beaten
what
up
it
little
recommends
footpath.
for me.
But actually what
My
it was
top
was an
ones
animal
are
trail.
Red
So
Tree
animals just kind
Stories,
of
which
made
are
their
like
way around
police
this area
interview
all the time, and
psychological
so
crimes.
it
They
kinda
break it
carved
down
out
and
a
tell
path.
you the
And so Bella would
psychological
walk
aspect
down
of
to
why
this
they're
animal
answering
path,
this
and
question
she
like
would
that,
walk along
what
the
their
path
body
that kind of
language
went
is. So I have
parallel
a
with
bunch
the
of
stream,
videos like
and she
that.
would walk for maybe 15
My
or
second
20
one is the
minutes until this
infographic
animal
show.
path
I watch this shit when
veered
I'm, like,
hard
after
to the
7
left
p.m.,
and
you know what I'm
went
saying?
away from the stream.
Aircraft
At
carriers
that
in the
point,
future.
Bella would abandon
How
the
aircraft
animal
carriers
path
could
and
survive
just
nuclear
continue
blasts.
walking along this stream, both stepping
Things
in the
like that
stream on
nature,
some rocks
you know,
and
bunch of
standing on
random
either side when she
informative
could.
facts.
And she would follow this stream due
Below
north,
that
just going
is
straight
real-time
into the
history.
heart of this forest.
Why
For
Germany
about
lost
an
the
hour,
Battle of the
walking at a
Bulge,
fairly
a
leisurely
4K World
pace
War II
until the
documentary.
stream
Like when I tell you
connected
I
with
sit
this
here, I watch
east to west
educational
running
shit, I
river.
really
And
sit
at
here and
this
watch
point,
like
Bella would
shit
turn
that
left,
better my
facing
mind.
west, and she would follow
You know,
along
more-
this
more
riverbank
psychological
about 20 minutes
information,
until the river
more
fed
war
into the
history
man-made
stuff.
lake. And so she would stay at this lake, sitting on a rock, enjoy
More
the view, and
interviews,
look at the animals, and listen to nature all around
disturbing
her.
history,
And
the
then at some
victims
point, she
of
would turn around
Hiroshima
and
and
retrace her
Nagasaki.
steps all the way back to her car. For
Strange
reference,
stories in history,
one
part
leg
2.
of this journey from car to lake or from lake
Pacers,
to car
Hawks,
took about
highlights.
2 hours. Part of the reason Bella really enjoyed
Red Tree
being
Crime,
in these woods and being
Mr.
at
Ballin,
this lake was because
Smart
it just
Pizza,
kind of felt
10
like
of the
they were
100
hers. Because up
or
until
100
this summer
most
in
dangerous ocean
2019,
creatures
the
in the
only
world
other
that
people
exist
that
today.
Bella had ever seen anywhere in this forest or near this lake
real
were other
reason
members of her
ancient
family.
Egyptians
So it
wanted
really felt very
stinks.
private. So in
Sure,
June of that
shit.
year, Bella comes home from college, and almost immediately she
I
wants
just
to
be
go
like-
out to the man-made lake because she hasn't been in months. She's been in school, and so she's eager to get back to some place that she kind of considered to be her happy place.
No, this
So
just
one morning
reminds
she
me
gets
of
up early,
why
and by
I
herself
always
she
get
leaves her house. She
get,
hops in her
like,
car. She drives the
tripped out
couple
when I
miles
walk
down
in
the
the
road.
woods
She
and shit.
pulls off onto that
Oh,
shoulder. She parks her
it
car.
reminds me
She
not to
hops
be
out. She
places
turns
I-
away from
I
the
know
road.
I
She
shouldn't
walks
be.
into the forest. She finds the stream and starts walking along that animal path right to the side of the
So,
stream.
like, these are all
She
true
walks for a few
stories,
minutes
too.
until she reaches the point where the trail kind of cuts to the
Documentation,
left,
all that good
and she just
stuff.
stays on the stream and is just continuing walking along the stream. And about 30 minutes later, when she was maybe 1 or 2 miles short of the east-west running river, she hears a bell somewhere off in
I
the
found,
distance,
like,
way out in front of her,
2 or
out
3.
towards
One
the river.
was a
It sounds just
pre-made
like a
Lambo
chime, a single chime.
that was half
And as
half
soon as
the
she
car
hears
was
it, she
Joker, half the
stops
car was
because there's
Batman.
never any
Then the other
people out
one was
here
like a food
ever,
truck
and that
bus.
bell sound came from somewhere in the
Shit.
forest, and so
But
she
there's-
stops
I saw
because
a
she's not really
way
sure if she actually
to
heard
go
that, because
into
it could have
the
just been her
vehicle's
mind playing
handling
tricks
and
on her
edit it,
or
but I
something, and so
didn't
she
quite
stops and just kind of
understand
listens
it,
for a
so I'm
second,
gonna
and
have
then
to
she starts to
spend,
hear this
like,
bell just continuously start
an
ringing.
hour tomorrow
Now the
looking at
ringing
it,
was not
testing it,
uniform; it
because
was
if it
constant,
works
but it was
like
kind of
that,
sporadic,
you
as
should-
if
I
you were
should be
holding a
able to
bell
just
and
go
kind of
into
ringing it
specific
randomly, like you might
vehicles
see at a
and
sports
add
game.
hydraulics.
And so she's thinking to herself,
But that's
you know,
gonna
is
be
there
a
a
timely
dog
process, 'cause
that
I
got
don't
lost
exactly
somewhere
know
up ahead,
where
and it's
in
got a
the car
bell on its
pulls
collar,
file,
and that's the sound
like
I'm
the car
hearing. But as she's
variation,
sitting
the
there
handle,
listening
all
to
that
this kind of
stuff,
sporadic
where-
bell sound, she's thinking, that's way too loud to be some rinky-dink bell on a pet's collar. So it's got to be something more robust. Did maybe somebody have a bell inside of a box, and that box got on the river, and it's
These bitches
floated
always be like,
downriver,
"Don't go in
and
the
it's like
woods and
crashing
listen to
into
random-"
rocks or
Remember when if
something?
I
I mean,
was in
she's
the
going through these
motherfucking
very
woods
strange
and the bell
scenarios
went
in her
off,
head,
I
but
would
she's
not
not
try to go
concerned
investigate.
about the
I would
bell.
be
She's
sketched the
actually
fuck
pretty
out, and I would be
intrigued,
going the
and
other
since
way.
the sound of this bell seemed to be coming from the direction she was already traveling, she decided she would just keep on walking and hopefully see whatever it was that was causing this bell sound. And so Bella
walking
just
with my dog
began
in the
walking
woods,
along the stream again,
shit
kind of
like
listening
this,
to this
and I
bell
heard a
and
bell,
thinking about what it was
and I
going to
know there
be.
shouldn't
And
be
after
no
about
noises.
5 minutes of her starting to walk again, the bell just stops. It goes totally silent. And when
Listen
it
to these
does, it
shits,
actually
yeah,
kind of
listen to
startles
the
Bella
story.
because she'd been
Listen to the
listening to it so
stories, bro.
intently,
Like,
and so she
fuck.
stops and she's listening, kind of
'Cause I do shit
expecting
like
it to
that.
go off some more, but it doesn't. All she
Mick, thank you
hears
for
are
the
the
like.
sounds of nature all around her. Now, Bella didn't have an explanation for what this bell was or why it stopped, but she really just wasn't that worried about it. She figured there was some sort of explanation for it. There had to be. And so she just kind of shrugged and kept on walking and put her focus back on getting to the lake. About 10 or 15 minutes later, Bella was still walking along the stream. She was
Start
still
Davidson
maybe a
Crown.
half mile or a mile short of the east to west running river when she sees up ahead on the left side of the stream as she's walking, there appears to be something laying on the ground that looks like it could be an animal or a rock. She doesn't really know what it is. And as she gets closer, she realizes it's a beaver laying on the ground, and this beaver is missing its head. Now, this is a huge forest, and Bella would have known that, of course, there are wild animals all over the place, and so finding the body of an animal that had been attacked by another animal was not unusual. That's nature. But what did strike Bella as odd was the cut on this beaver's neck was unbelievably neat and uniform, as if its head had been very carefully removed with a very sharp knife. And the beaver's head was nowhere to be found. It certainly did not have the appearance of having its head removed from some predator and its teeth. That would have been very rough. Also, the rest of the beaver's body was intact, so whatever killed this beaver was not interested in eating the beaver. As Bella stood over this beaver and was just staring at it, she also noted
gonna test
that
out the
there was
cord
no
on the
smell.
five.
Normally, when something dies, it begins to smell very quickly. It's part of the decomposition process. And so for there not to be a smell indicated to Bella that this beaver must have been killed fairly recently. And then when Bella kind of gently prodded the body with her foot, she realized the beaver's body was still fairly limp. So rigor mortis had not set in. Rigor mortis is another part of the decomposition process
Yes, I know
where
what
the
rigor
body kind of
mortis is.
stiffens
Thank
up.
you.
And that happens fairly soon after death. And so as Bella is realizing this beaver must have died very recently, it dawns on her that most likely whoever or whatever has killed this beaver is probably somewhere nearby. And Bella can't help but connect this dead beaver to that bell she was hearing earlier, which before meant nothing, but considering the bell was roughly coming from the same area where this
Wow,
beaver has now
bro.
been found,
Wow.
it made her uneasy.
Let me know
And
if
so
you wanna
Bella
get
found herself
served.
whipping her head around,
Gotcha.
looking out into the trees, seeing if, there's some person, a hunter or somebody that would kind of explain what was going on, but there was nothing. And so Bella felt herself starting to panic a little bit, but then she stopped herself and said, calm down, it's and years. I've never seen another person. I've never encountered some predatory animal.
No, see-
I'm sure everything is
no, no, no,
perfectly
no, no,
fine.
no.
I got nothing to worry about.
Bitch said she was
So
in the
she
woods
stepped
walking
over the
her whole
beaver
life
and
and never
kept
seen
on
another
walking.
person.
Bella
heard
would
a noise,
eventually
number
reach
one,
the east-west
internal.
running river. She would turn left
Shit,
and walk
turn
for
around.
20 minutes alongside this river.
Beaver
She
dead
reached
like
the
that,
man-made
number
lake.
two,
She
turn
enjoyed
around.
the beautiful view and the
Number
scenery.
three,
And
let's
then at
see
some
what it
point,
is.
she turned around and began retracing her footsteps. She walked past the beaver on the ground all the way back to her car, and she went home. A week later, Bella was sitting around her house when she felt pretty bored and decided kind of abruptly that in order to cure her boredom, she would go back to the place she loved so much, the man-made lake. And so she told her parents where she was going, and then she left the house, hopped in her car, drove to the pull-off, and parked and entered the woods at 6 p.m. Sunset that night was at 9 p.m., and so Bella knew this would need to be a fairly quick turnaround so she didn't get trapped in the woods in the dark. And so Bella finds the animal trail. She follows along the stream until the trail goes left, and she stays on the stream. She continues walking on the stream when she starts to hear the distant sound of thunder. And so she looks up into the sky through the trees, and she can see the sky is starting to get dark, but she's still a couple of hours away from sunset. And so between the thunder and the dark skies, she knows a storm is rolling in. But she is determined to get to that lake. And so instead of, turning around and saying, okay, I'll come back another time, she just starts jogging along the stream to get there as fast as she possibly can. And almost immediately as she's jogging, the raindrops start to fall. And by the time she passes the beaver corpse on the ground, it hadn't moved, the rain was really coming down. And then about 15 minutes after the corpse, when she hit the east-west running river, that's when the rain was at a full downpour. Still, Bella turned at the river and continued west towards the man-made lake as if she was going to go all the way, but only about a minute or two into this final leg. She still had about 20 minutes to get to the lake. She stops herself and she looks at her watch and she can see it's after 8 o'clock already, and she's thinking to herself, if I turn around right now, it's going to take me over an hour to get back to my car. Sunsets at 9 p.m. It's after 8 p.m. now, so already I know I'm going to have to navigate this forest at night in the dark, even if it's just for a little bit at the end. And if I go all the way to the lake and then come all the way back to the car, I'm going to be in the forest after dark for quite a while, maybe up to an hour. And she's thinking, I'm confident I can do that, but it's also pouring rain, I'm cold. If I get lost, this could turn into a very bad situation. And so she ultimately decides that even though she really wants to keep going, she needs to turn around. She needs to head back.
Yeah, that's right.
She turns around and she walks back up alongside this east-west running river to where the stream fed into that river. She turns and begins walking south along this stream, headed back towards the car. On her walk, because the visibility was starting to get quite bad because it was so dark, she had her head down at the ground because she didn't want to trip. She's stepping on rocks, she's stepping on muddy areas. She wants to make sure her footing is solid. And so her head is down, the rain is pounding all around her, and she's walking for about 15 minutes when all of a sudden something hits her in the top of the head. And so reflexively she looks up and kind of puts her hands in front of her face to protect herself, and she sees what she had just run into. It was the beaver corpse. It was hanging from a string that was dangling off a branch right above her. And this beaver's head had been retrieved, and the head had been stitched onto the front paws of this beaver. And so she's looking at this beaver that's dangling from this rope. It's carrying its own head, and she's walked square into it. And her first reaction was basically to gag. She was going to vomit. She was so disgusted. And then she began frantically rubbing at her hair where this thing had made contact with her, because there could be juices from the decomposition that got on her. And then after frantically kind of patting at her head for a second, she stops, and something really terrifying dawns on her. Whoever strung this beaver up to this tree and then stitched its head onto its paws, they had done that in the last 30 minutes, because 30 minutes earlier, when she was on her way she remembered passing the beaver carcass on the ground. She saw it. It had not moved from where it was the week before when she first saw it, and now this beaver is strung up in the tree. And so as the wheels are turning in Bella's head, she realizes that if someone has just done this, then they are probably nearby. And at this point, it's really starting to get dark. The rain is pounding all around her, and she starts whipping her head around, looking in all directions to see if there's someone out there that did this. But as she's looking, all she sees is just dark forest in all directions. And she knows she's at least 1 hour, even if she runs from her car. So suddenly, she is totally panicked, and in an effort to calm herself down, she says to herself, okay, I need to get out of here, but I have to walk. If I start running right now, this is going to turn into a complete nightmare. I just have to try to walk. And so she walks around this dangling beaver corpse and starts walking along the stream. And as soon as she's past that corpse, she feels the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. She can hear movement behind her. She doesn't know what it is. It could be a deer, it could be some animal, but she's too afraid to turn around. And even though she was trying to tell herself to calm down, just keep walking, you're safe, you're freaking yourself out, everything is okay, as she's walking, she could feel herself starting to speed up, until finally she was just running down the stream, sprinting actually away from this beaver and whatever it was that was moving around in that area. And at some point, she got so winded from sprinting so fast that she came to a stop, maybe 5 or 6 minutes after seeing this beaver. And as soon as she comes to a stop and she's walking, she still hasn't turned around yet, she hears the sound of that bell. And right away, it's the exact same sound she had heard the week before. It's that kind of constant, sporadic sound of someone ringing a bell. But in her panic state, she doesn't know where it's coming from. She's so scared. Her anxiety is so high. She doesn't know if it's behind her or if it's off to the side. It's now completely dark out. And so she is full-blown terrified. There is someone or something behind her that has strung this beaver up that's probably watching her, and she can't see them. Even though she's beyond winded, she can barely breathe, she just starts sprinting as fast as she can. And as she's stumbling and falling on the rocks and tripping because she's not really looking where she's going, in the background and all around her, she's hearing this bell chiming, and she's hearing something moving around in the woods behind her. And she pulls her phone out of her pocket, her iPhone, and as she's running, she dials her father. She puts the phone to her ear. She's crying, she's panting, she can barely breathe. Her father picks up, and she's so relieved to hear his voice, but she can't even make a sentence. She just starts crying and wailing and pleading with him, "Dad, come out to the forest. Meet me at the spot where the trail veers away from the stream. Meet me there. There's someone in the forest that's chasing me, and I can't see them." Her father, on the other end of the phone, he didn't know what to make of this, but he could hear the primal fear in his daughter's voice. And so he didn't ask any questions. He said, "Stay on the line. I'm coming to meet you right now." So Bella's father and mother, with Bella on the line, they run out of their house. They hop in their car. They speed the couple miles down the road. They park next to their daughter's car. And as they're running into the woods, they can hear way off in the woods the sound of the bell. They can hear the bell. They hear their daughter screaming on the phone. They can hear the bell coming through the phone, and she's begging them to please come into the woods, come in here, save me. And so the parents run into the woods, and they begin running up the stream. Meanwhile, Bella, who's way out in the woods, she's still 10 or 15 minutes away from her parents. She is barely able to run at this point. She's exhausted almost all of her energy, and as she's getting closer and closer to her parents, the sporadic bell sound is getting louder and louder and louder, like whatever it is gaining on her. And she can hear behind her all these sticks and branches. They're breaking as if something is coming up to her. And finally, when it feels like this bell is right behind her head, she just kind of stops in defeat. She's too far away from her parents. She can't get to them in time. And so it was almost like she had to turn around and finally look at whatever it was that was behind her. And so terrified beyond words, Bella, who can barely breathe, she's so scared and so tired, she slowly turns around. Now, when she turns turns around and she's facing the other direction. She's looking across this clearing. She just happened to run past this clearing, and because it was a clearing, there was a little bit of moonlight that was coming down through the trees, just enough to illuminate this space that was about 50 feet wide. And as she's looking across this clearing, at first, she doesn't see anything. And then this tall, dark figure walks into the clearing, and as soon as it steps in, she can see it's got a bell at its waist. And with every step it took, it would violently ring the bell, causing the ringing sound. And so this thing starts moving into the clearing, and as Bella is staring at it, it was like time slowed down. She could not process what she was looking at. She didn't know what she was looking at. All she knew is whatever or whoever this is, they're coming straight at me. And so Bella suddenly got this unbelievable adrenaline rush. It was like her body went into autopilot to save her, and she turned around and began sprinting faster than she had ever sprinted in her life. And as she ran, all she could hear was the sound of that bell, which she now knew represented steps this thing was taking. And so the bell was getting faster and faster and louder, and she knew it was gaining on her, and she began lying and screaming out loud that, "I'm on the phone with the police, they're right up ahead, they're gonna be here any moment." But whatever it was that was behind her, they weren't fazed. They were just charging ahead, gaining on her second by second. Meanwhile, her parents had made it to the meeting spot, but her father, he felt like, I can't just sit here, and he just starts charging into the woods. He can hear his daughter screaming, he can hear this bell getting louder and louder, and he just starts running towards it. And sure enough, seconds later, he sees his daughter come bounding out of the forest, and she leaps into his arms. He just grabs her, turns around, and runs with her back to the meeting spot. He grabs his wife, and the three of them just charge out of the forest, back to the parking lot, back in their car, and they speed off. In the car, all of them are crying. They don't know what to make of what just happened. Bella's trying to describe it, but she can't. And her parents, they had been on the phone listening to their daughter screaming, and all they kept saying to each other, the parents, was, "I heard the bell. I heard the bell. I heard the bell," as if the bell confirmed their worst nightmares. That there really was someone or something out in those woods that was trying to do harm to their child. They would drive straight to the police station where Bella would file a report about what she experienced out in the forest. And then afterwards, her parents, as a precaution, took her to the hospital where she was determined to be okay, besides some bumps and bruises from falling down. The following morning, the police went out to the forest, to the area where Bella had explained where she had been, and they searched all along that animal foot trail and all along the stream, but they never found any sign of this dark figure with the bell. Bella would tell police that she had a handbag, and as she was running back, she dropped the bag. She remembered where she dropped it along the stream, but when the police went to that area, the bag was gone. Also, the beaver was no longer there. It was not tied up to the tree, it was not on the ground, it was gone. The only thing police found that was out of the ordinary was they found a little ways off from the stream, basically along the path that Bella would have been running on, they found a t-shirt neatly folded, placed underneath a rock. But the police and Bella and her family have no idea what that signifies. Ultimately, the police told Bella and her family that more than likely what she ran into was some kind of mentally unstable person that was living out in the woods, and perhaps when Bella came into the woods, they felt like she was on the property, and so they kind of tried to scare her off. But Bella has a hard time accepting that. She felt like, as she was running from whoever was behind her, that she was in mortal danger. That had it not been for her father running into the woods and literally grabbing her and running with her the rest of the way, that she may not have gotten out of the woods at all, that she might have been attacked and killed by whoever this was. She also can't help when she looks back at the entire experience.
Fuck that noise.
Madre Santa!